What we witnessed at BC Place in Vancouver was not just an upset, it was a tactical heist of the absolute highest order. If you looked only at the stat sheet without knowing the final score, you would think Türkiye completely humiliated Australia. Vincenzo Montella's side held a staggering 72% of the possession. They completely suffocated the pitch. They pushed the Socceroos deep into their own half and unleashed an unbelievable relentless siege of 30 shots. 30 shots. Yet, when the final whistle blew, the scoreboard read, Australia 2, Türkiye 0. This match was won and lost on a psychological warfare and structural discipline level before the players even kicked a ball. To truly understand how this tactical shockwave happened, we have to start 24 hours before kickoff. Turkey's captain Hakan Çalhanoğlu sparked a fire in the pre-match press conference when he openly declared that his Turkish side possessed more qualities and a more talented team than Australia. It was a classic piece of European elite confidence. But inside the Australian camp, Tony Popovic used those exact words as ammunition. The underestimation of the Socceroos became their primary fuel, but it wasn't just mental preparation. Popovic took some of the biggest tactical gambles in modern Australian football history. When the starting lineups were announced, the football world was left in absolute disbelief. Popovic benched veteran captain and legendary goalkeeper Matthew Ryan, handing a competitive international debut to 22-year-old Patrick Beach. Think about the sheer nerves of stepping onto the pitch for your first major competitive start, knowing you have to face a front line featuring Real Madrid's generational talent Arda Guler and Juventus star Kenan Yıldız. Furthermore, vice-captain Jackson Irvine was left on the bench, replaced by 21-year-old Paul Okon-Engstler in a starting 11 that featured 10 World Cup debutants. It looked like madness, but it proved to be an absolute masterstroke. From the first whistle, Turkey showed exactly what Çalhanoğlu was talking about. Their technical fluidity was beautiful. Arda Guler combined seamlessly with Orkun Kökçü, carving open spaces and firing a warning shot over the crossbar. Minutes later, Ferdi Kadıoğlu missed a golden opportunity. The Turkish side was moving the ball with terrifying speed, poking and prodding around the Australian box. It felt like a matter of time before the Australian defensive block cracked. Guler unleashed a stinging first-time volley that looked destined for the back of the net, but the young debutant Patrick Beach gathered it with total composure. Then came the 27th minute, the absolute turning point of the first half. Türkiye was pushing high up the pitch, confident in their dominance. But dominance without clinical execution leaves you vulnerable. Just seconds after Beach denied another fierce Turkish build-up, the young midfielder Paul Okon-Engstler picked up the ball deep in the Australian half. He looked up and delivered a breathtaking, laser-focused long ball right over the top of the high Turkish defensive line. Sprinting down the left flank was the 20-year-old phenom Nestory Irankunda. He timed his run to absolute perfection, leaving 3 Turkish defenders chasing his shadow. With a magnificent first touch, Irankunda controlled the ball, cut inside with devastating sharp footwork, and drilled a low, unstoppable right-footed shot past Orkun Çakır into the near post. BC Place erupted. Irankunda sprinted toward the edge of the pitch and immediately performed the iconic corner flag boxing celebration, a brilliant tribute to Australian legend Tim Cahill. With that single strike, he became the youngest Australian player ever to score at a FIFA World Cup. Against the absolute run of play, the underdogs were leading 1-0. Turkey's response was immediate and furious. Within 3 minutes of the restart, Abdülkerim Bardakçı unleashed an absolute pile driver from long distance. The ball looked like a rocket heading straight for the top corner, but Patrick Beach flew across his line, getting the slyest of fingertips to divert the ball onto the post. It was a jaw-dropping save that preserved the lead heading into the interval. Knowing his tournament strategy was in serious jeopardy, Montella made an aggressive move at halftime, introducing Juventus star winger Kenan Yıldız. The second half became a literal siege. Turkey camped out in the Australian half, moving the ball from side to side, trying to stretch the back 5. Ismail Yüksek came inches close with a deflected effort that sailed just wide. In the 57th minute, Arda Guler stepped up to take a dangerous free kick right on the edge of the box. He struck it beautifully, curling it over the wall, but Beach made another spectacular diving stop to turn it wide. No matter what Türkiye threw forward, the central defensive partnership of Harry Sauter and Cameron Burgess was immovable, throwing their bodies in front of every cross and blocking every passing lane. The Turkish side was growing visibly frustrated, lacking the clinical sharpness required to break down a compact, highly organized 5-4-1 defensive structure. Then, in the 75th minute, the final fatal blow was delivered. Türkiye, desperate for an equalizer, committed too many bodies forward. Midfielder Ismail Yüksek miscontrolled a pass under pressure, triggering a costly turnover. Connor Metcalf pounced on the loose ball in midfield. He drove forward into the open space, looked up from 20 yards out, cut onto his left foot, and unleashed a skidding, powerful low strike that arrowed perfectly into the bottom far corner. Uğurkan Çakır dived at full stretch, but he had absolutely no chance. 2-0 to Australia. The stadium went wild as the entire squad gathered near a massive sea of yellow-clad fans. Even in the 6 frantic minutes of stoppage time, Türkiye kept fighting, but it was clear the football gods had made their choice. Beach capped off a legendary debut by holding a close-range volley from Kerem Aktürkoğlu, finishing the night with 8 spectacular saves and an unforgettable clean sheet. This match is a massive lesson in World Cup tournament football. Possession doesn't win games, efficiency does. Türkiye played the prettier football, but they completely lacked the cutting edge to punish Australia, while Popovic's young tactics worked flawlessly. With this historic victory, Australia takes a massive 3 points in Group D, sitting right behind the USA, setting up an absolute blockbuster clash against the Americans in Seattle. For Turkey, a night that began with high expectations ends in an early tournament crisis as they head to Santa Clara to face Paraguay.